Good morning, everyone. This year we saw the birth of the Me Too movement. And the whole idea of the Me Too movement is women standing up and saying Me Too, meaning to say, I can empathize with what you experienced because I also experienced that. Now empathy, obviously if you've experienced something yourself, you can empathize more with someone. But empathy is not limited to if you personally had that experience. Empathy is that if you see someone else's pain, you see someone else's struggle, you empathize with them. And perhaps it's one of the most, if not the most important human emotion necessary for being a healthy and functioning human being, especially as it pertains to your interpersonal relationships. And just like we teach children how to read and write and do arithmetic, we have to teach them and chesed, kindness and compassion and empathy, how to feel another person's pain and another person's struggle. This week's Parshas we read about Noach. And Noach in the Haftorah this week, in the prophet Isaiah says, May Noach, it's the flood waters of Noach. Why are the flood waters called May Noach? Because he's considered responsible for them because he didn't do anything to prevent it. Unlike Avraham Avinu in next week's Parsha, when God tells him he's going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, that Abraham stands up and protests. Or Moshe Rabbeinu after the golden calf, who prays for forgiveness for the Jewish people. Noach saves his family and lets the whole world drown. And the reason why Noach is not a Jewish hero and not part of the Jewish family is because to be a Jew means to be like Avraham and Moshe Rabbeinu. That even if it's not your problem, someone else's problem becomes your problem. And you care about someone else's circumstances. All too often people say, you know, me and my family are okay, go into the ark like Noach, we're safe, I don't have to worry about everyone else. Avraham Avinu, Moshe Rabbeinu teaches us is that you see another human being suffering, it has to bother you, you have to care about it, you have to try to act. And right now, the whole world is watching the aftermath of Hurricane Michael, and that's yet another example. So far, 11 people died in this hurricane. Thousands of people are homeless now. And the question is, do we just go about living our lives and say, well, it didn't affect me, everything's okay? Or do we do whatever we can do to help, to assist? Because as human beings, we have to have empathy and compassion for other people. And even if it's not our problem, when our fellow man is suffering, we have to take personal responsibility to try to care and help for one another. The greatest story, or one of the greatest stories I know about empathy, is the Satmar Rebbe, Rabbi Teitelbaum. He was known to be a very generous man. People would come to his office for help all the time. And one time a man came and said, Rabbi, I need help. My wife is ill, I'm unemployed, I have children to marry off, I have no money. So the rabbi looked in his drawer and he didn't have any money to give him. So he buzzed his assistant from the office nearby to come in. He said, do you have any petty cash? Petty cash is significant money when it comes to a Hasidic Rebbe. He says, do you have $2,000 in the other room? He says, yeah, I'll go look. He comes back, he gives it to the Rebbe. He leaves. The Rebbe hands it to this man and he says, God should bless you, things should get better. And he leaves the Rebbe's office. The assistant comes into the Rebbe and says, Rebbe, I'm just wondering, did you give that man the $2,000? He said, yeah. He says, why? He said, what do you mean why? His wife is sick and he's unemployed and his kids have to get married and he has no money. And the Rebbe, the assistant says, Rebbe, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but this man is a fraud. He has plenty of money, his wife is not sick, he's not unemployed. It's a baba maaseh. He just told it to you because he scammed you. And the Rebbe's response was, Baruch Hashem. Thank God he doesn't have all these problems. I was so concerned about him. I was so worried. I'm so relieved to know that he doesn't actually have these problems. That's empathy. That's compassion. That's caring for another human being. And so Parshas Noach reminds us, every day we hear about people's problems. Do we turn a deaf ear or a blind eye? Or do we say, what can I do to help my fellow human being?